Make some noise, let us hear your voice. Welcome back to Is This Fair? I am your host, Anthony Phillips. Continuing the topic of inequality from last week, we are talking about the abuse of household maids in Hong Kong. Tonight with us here is Grace Tammy, a former Filipino maid who has claimed to experience terrible mistreat from her former employer. Grace, what would you like to share tonight?
Thanks for having me here. Yes, I'm really disappointed with my previous employer, the Victors. It was terrible. I remember waking up in shock to see all my drawers opened. I didn't expect Mrs. Victor to touch my stuff without my permission just because she thought that I stole her earrings. I asked her why, but I didn't expect myself to be accused of stealing. I mean, me stealing. Also, I couldn't really sleep in peace. The couple sometimes fought and scolded their kids so loudly that I can hardly fall asleep every night.
That's horrible. How about your friends? What do they feel about their employers or the working environment?
I'm not really in a position to speak for anyone, but some of my friends that I meet weekly in Central Plaza have told me that they were ordered to purchase groceries, clean, cook, and wash the dishes in less than 4 hours. Such heavy workload is very inhumane.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. Multitasking within limited hours is really common for maids in Hong Kong. Also, it's a big problem that your employer accused you for stealing without much evidence. Is that why you left them?
Yes, definitely.
So, to solve the dispute here, as we do it every time, here we have Mr. and Mrs. Victor on phone to know more from their point of view. Hello, Mrs. Victor.
Yes, hello.
Anything to add what Grace just said?
Well, would a thief admit to stealing?
From my perspective.
Shall we let Mrs. Victor speak first?
Sure.
My pearl earrings, who would have taken them if it wasn't her? She knows exactly where our belongings are. And moreover, about her discontent with the sleeping environment, I don't think it's her business to care about our family's dispute and education.
Well, thank you for your insight. How about Mr. Victor?
Sure. Well, as a freelancer, I don't really have time for all of this. I'm already busy with my projects, and all of these household chores are none of my business. So don't expect me to handle all of these matters, as it simply is not my job. My job is only to make sculptures perfect, nothing more than that.
Oh, I see. You are a sculptor.
Oh, yes, indeed. He's always so obsessed with his creations and pieces. He could stay in that little art room for months.
So, Mr. Victor doesn't exactly know what's going on with the earring incident?
It has nothing to do with me. I don't interact with the maid. She's just a servant to me.
A servant? Well, I don't think so.
Shush! Can't you see I'm speaking? Okay, back to your question. I just occasionally ask for some tea and cleaning for the studio. She's quite nice most of the time, and the tea is hot enough.
I see your point. Mrs. Victor, didn't you have something to say just now?
Well, I don't think it's a big deal.
Well, but my dear, I literally saw the sculpture that looks exactly like Grace in your room, and you're telling me she's just a servant to you? Why would you make that sculpture? I'm not a fool.
Ma'am, it's nothing like that. I just love art, and I really wanted to help Mr. Victor to get out of his artist block.
I'm sick of your excuses too. As you have now already left our house, I don't think you are in any position to make any statements on us anymore.
Wow, I never thought you'd say something like that. Do you think that I'm still afraid of you? I had enough. You leave me no mercy, and I have to reveal the truth. Just take a look at this photo, Anthony.
Let's see. Grace in our recording room is now showing a picture of. It seems to be a bruise on the wrist.
Yes, indeed. This is a photo of my wrist being grabbed by Mrs. Victor just because I wanted to go out with my friends on Sunday. She wanted me to stay at home and work without paying me.
Oh my, Mrs. Victor, you must have used a lot of strength to make that wrist look black and blue. The blood vessels are obvious and are quite horrible.
The coronavirus is spreading, and we care about you and our family. That's why I didn't want you to go out.
I get it, but is it really necessary to hold her that tight? I can feel the pain through the picture. It looks so swollen and raised. Besides the bruise, I can even see some cuts from fingernails.
It is. Well, here's another scan document that the doctor gave me.
Another piece of document. I can see the doctor's handwriting identifying that the injury is not by bumping onto hard objects or other accidents, but rather ensured to be a man-made injury. This delicate hospital stamp in red and this official format. From what I see, this seems legit.
That's the abuse they have done to us. Do any of you still think I'm making things up?
Mrs. Victor, do you have any... Well, it seems Mrs. Victor is gone for now. Let's move on to our phone-in session. Your identities and voices will be processed. Let's hear your thoughts.
Hello?
Hello there, thank you for calling. How should we call you?
Hi, you may call me Mrs. P. I'd rather not say my real name because I'm one of their neighbors.
Wow, Mrs. P, you are the neighbor of Mr. and Mrs. Victor. I assume you have more to add on their situation?
Well, Mrs. Spector has quite a mean attitude towards their domestic helper, Grace. When we were in the same lift, Mrs. Spector yelled at Grace for buying unnecessary stuff with expensive prices. Being an outsider, I think Grace literally suffered from verbal abuse. She was very emotional and cried. However, what Mrs. Spector said was not completely wrong. She was just trying to suggest the stores with the best price and which brands to consider. I guess it's just a misunderstanding between the two.
What do you think can solve the problem then?
Well, referring to an old saying, the most important thing is to listen to others no matter what. The point I want to make is that maybe that little conflict is just because they didn't know each other's intentions. Indeed, Mrs. Spector was a bit rude, and she should have talked with Grace and listened to her patiently before scolding. But still, Grace is a servant, so it's better for her to obey her employer.
It seems like a solid point. But I can't deny that physical abuse is unacceptable. Maybe misunderstanding is the reason behind the conflict. What do you have for your response, Grace?
Well, after thoroughly thinking, I'm open to making compromises. But of course, they have to apologize to me first.
Well, thank you for your response. And as well to all the callers who have called tonight. Dear audience, what do you think? Is Grace the problem? Or that the employers are too harsh? As always, make some noise and we can hear your voice through here and on our website, isthisfair.com.hk. See you all next week.